In the early 1920s, one invention would signal the start of the modern era and the dissemination of information around the world. For the first time, the events of history could be reported as they happened to almost anywhere on Earth. That historic invention was radio. Welcome, fellow YouTubers. The Roaring Twenties radio channel brings you another video on early radio.
Hello, everyone. Every so often, I like to go into the attic of radio history, dusty places that no one visits and are long forgotten. In this documentary, I'll be visiting just such a place. Come along with me on a trip to explore the forgotten manufacturers of a part that was critical to the explosive growth of radio in the 1920s, the companies that manufactured radio tubes. I'd estimate that there was nearly 1,000 radio manufacturers that sprung up during the decade. From the monster of the decade, Atwater Kent, to tiny manufacturers whose existence was brief and soon forgotten by history. We may never know the actual number, but one thing was clear. With so many radios being built, the demand for radio tubes was huge. Like radio manufacturers, the actual number of radio tube manufacturers that existed during the decade may never be known. Like the radio manufacturers, many existed for only a brief moment in time. In this video, we will explore a small sample of the long-forgotten tube manufacturers. In the 1920s, the king of radio tubes was RCA and its Radiotron brand, which was a pretty impressive accomplishment considering RCA didn't manufacture a single radio tube in the 1920s. RCA was a patent trust at the time, devoid of any manufacturing facilities. Its first radio tube factory wasn't constructed until 1930. RCA licensed GE and Westinghouse to manufacture radio tubes for its Radiotron brand. The tubes would have both RCA and GE or Westinghouse logos etched in the glass, or paper labels glued to it. No other company could legally manufacture radio tubes unless licensed to do so by RCA. The existence of RCA's patents didn't stop other companies from manufacturing radio tubes in the 1920s. While some were licensed by RCA, many others ignored the patent rights and started producing radio tubes without a license. Three of the best-known independent radio tube manufacturers, more accurately described as bootleggers, were Elmer T. Cunningham, Elman Myers, and Otis B. Moorhead. I won't go into these three gentlemen in the video, as I've already covered these men in previous videos. I will leave links in the description below if you wish to find out more about these men and their companies. There were many small tube manufacturers that had sprung up in the 20s, with some lasting for years, while others' existence was relatively brief. Some of these companies are preserved in the records of radio history, with the only proof of their existence being advertisements in magazines and trade publications. Many others have disappeared without a trace. My apologies for the interruption, but I know some of you watching have forgotten something very important. To hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and also remember to hit the like button. I appreciate your help in supporting the channel. Now, let's get back to the story. One of history's long-forgotten radio tube manufacturers was Lynn Electric Corporation of Lynn, Massachusetts. Their tubes were sold under the Leco brand, L-E-C-O. This advertisement was all I could find to prove this company ever existed. It was the January 1926 edition of the Radio Dealer, a trade magazine. Supertron Manufacturing Company of Hoboken, New Jersey, located at 222 to 228 Washington Street, was another forgotten tube manufacturer from the 20s decade, selling its radio tubes under the Supertron brand for $2 apiece in 1926. Their company had 13 branch offices across the country from coast to coast, which suggests it was a company of some size, and yet there's still little information on the company. Another small company, the Triangle Vacuum Tube Company of Newark, New Jersey, was founded by Conrad Schickerling in 1921. Schickerling was more of a con man than a businessman. He made bootleg tubes, and worse, they were garbage. He would move his business often and change its name, trying to keep one step ahead of RCA and their patent lawyers, since he didn't have an RCA license to legally manufacture radio tubes. He changed the name of his company to Schickerling Products Manufacturing and finally Schickerling Radio Corporation. Schickerling constructed his tubes with the filament running through triangular-shaped plates, using this design change to avoid patent infringement, while claiming the change made the tubes non-microphonic. By the late 1920s, Schickerling was manufacturing tubes with the same basic construction as his competitors. In the early 1930s, RCA's patent lawyers caught up with Schickerling, and Conrad Schickerling's con game was over. Four medium and small tube manufacturers from the 1920s disappeared from history, not by failing and going out of business or being forced out of business by RCA's patent attorneys. They were merged into one company. On September 2nd of 1929, less than 2 months before the biggest stock market crash in history, a merger between four radio tube manufacturers was completed. The merger was led by Sylvester Webster Muldowney and J.E. Davies. Muldowney's resume revealed a background in banking, working in the bond department at Chicago Trust Company from 1921 to 1924, and then leaving there to work at Lehman Brothers from 1924 to 1929. If Lehman Brothers sounds familiar, it was the collapse of the financial company on September 15, 2008 that caused the Great Recession. Back to Muldowney, he and his partners, Lehman Brothers and Sears Roebuck, along with RCA providing a $2 million loan to finance the deal, accomplished the merger of these four radio tube companies: Conaway Electric Laboratories of Hoboken, New York, Northern Manufacturing Company of Newark, Televocal Corporation of New York, and Sonatron Tube Company of Chicago. These companies produce the Magnetron, Marathon, Sonatron, and Televocal brand of radio tubes. Side note, the Sonatron Tube Company itself was formed in 1928, the result of the merger of four small tube companies. The new company was named the National Union Radio Company of Orange, New Jersey. The company had its head office in the American Insurance Building located at 15 Washington Street, Newark, New Jersey. The company would produce a full line of standard tubes used at the time. The company stayed in business until 1959 when it merged with Eureka Williams. While many other individuals and companies that produced radio tubes in the 20s have been lost to history, I put together some advertisements from lesser-known names in the field for you to enjoy. See how many you know of and how many you've never heard of, and let me know in the comments section.
While other children listened on the wireless telephone, one little girlie sadly sat alone, and as a message came from far away, they heard this tearful little girlie say, I wish there was a wireless to heaven, and I could speak to Mama every day.
Hello, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the latest mini documentary here on the Roaring Twenties Radio YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing all of you here again very soon. So until then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.